Hello, my name is Megan Schaefer and I am the Cultural Resources Coordinator for Summit Metro Parks. I'm going to talk to you about how to research your home online. So I'm going to share some of the sources that I use regularly and show you how to use them to learn a little bit more about the history of your home. Today we'll be using the Summit County Parcel Viewer, which is an online geographic information system or GIS system. So you can see that I'm on the site right here. And while we can search for a property using the parcel number, the street address, the owner name, and a number of other things, I myself prefer to just scroll in on the map. So as my example today, I'll be using 411 Ira Avenue, which is a pump house that was built for the Firestone Tire and Rubber Company in the early 1910s on the east side of Summit Lake. And before I get started, I'll just say that even if your home is a more modern home, you can still learn something about it and about what was there before it was built by using these sources. So I'm going to scroll in on the property that I'm interested in, which is right here. So you can see the east side of Summit Lake. This is the pump house. So once I get to the property that I'm looking for, I can click on it. And this little pop-up box will come up and it gives me some descriptive information about the property, like the acreage, the owner, the parcel ID, and a few other things. But if I scroll down, you can see there's this icon here labeled Property Records. So if I click on this, it brings up more descriptive information about the property that I'm looking at. And over here you can see it tells me the year that it was built, 1911. It gives me this small sketch of the structure that's there and a little description of it. It also gives me some information about secondary features that were added to the property at later dates. So here I can see that in the sketch, it's divided into two parts, A and B, and they were both built in 1911. It tells me that they're both brick. They have brick exterior walls with wood frames, and it tells me that Section A is heated while Section B is not. So that can tell me that this is maybe a garage or something like that, workshop feature maybe, and that this is the main feature of the structure. I also have this information down here that it was built in 1911 with an exterior of brick veneer. It gives me the square footage and what it's currently being used for. Down here, the secondary features I can see were built in 1950 and 2012, and all of this information about when these things were built can be very important if you're trying to understand if the layout of your home is original or if there were additions built at a later date. Okay, so I've got some more descriptive information here, and I'm going to go back to the map. And I'm actually going to scroll through. You can see this little arrow key. I'm going to scroll through some of the other icons that will give me other information about the property. I'm going to stop on this one that says Old Tax Maps. So if I click on that, it gives me an old tax map showing the property. So it just gives me a little bit more information about the previous owners, about the setup of the parcel, about the setup of the streets, prior to when the property is owned today. So there's a little bit more information right there. And I'm just going to call your attention to a few more things that are on the bottom menu bar right here. The first one is the layer list. We can get all kinds of information added to the map that we're looking at here, and a lot of it can be very helpful if I want to look up this property on older maps. So I can look at the original township boundaries, and it will give me the name of the original township that my property was in. This can be very helpful because sometimes the township that the property was originally in, maybe its boundaries have changed, or maybe its name has changed, maybe it no longer exists, but when you're looking on those older maps, you'll want to know exactly what township it was in. So original townships can be helpful. Old lot lines can be helpful. That can give you some information that you can look up on old maps. And plat labels can also be helpful. This sometimes will give you information about things like subdivisions, or who is actually putting the subdivision in place, so who is actually doing the construction of the subdivision. So for example here, subdivision and allotment made for Lewis Miller and J.A. Long. That's a little additional information that you can get there. The next thing I want to show you are the base maps in the base map gallery. We're looking at a very recent aerial here. This is from 2017, but you can see you can look at all of these aerials going back all the way to 1994. And another interesting thing you can look at here is the 1874 Summit County Atlas map. So this is overlaid on the parcel boundaries as they stand today. So this shows me that Summit Lake appears to have been a very different shape in 1874 than it is now. And even though I know that this was drawn in 1874 and it may not be drawn with the same exactitude that you see in some of the more modern maps, it does match up very well with things like the line for the Ohio Canal, the Ohio and Erie Canal here, and the railroad lines. So that gives me a good idea that the shape of Summit Lake was indeed quite different in the late 1800s, and that the property that I am looking at was actually made on something like perhaps reclaimed land. And then the next thing that I want to show you here is this little button that says Pictometry. So if I click on that, let's change our base map back. Okay. So if I click on Pictometry, and I have my property selected, this will show me an oblique aerial image of the property that I'm interested in. Not only will it show me this oblique aerial image from this point of view, this perspective, I can also change the direction from which I am looking, so it'll give me a 360-degree view of the entire property. And you can see that there are several images here that I can scroll through, and I can also select the date of the imagery. So it will show me the latest imagery, and it will show me the imagery that was taken for this property in 2019, 2017, 2015, and all the way back to 2007. So I can actually see what the property looked like, and again get that 360-degree view of the property up to 12 years ago in this case. So those are just a few of the features that are available on the Summit County Parcel Viewer that you can use to research your home online. Thank you very much for joining me. And remember that for more content like this, you can follow us on social media using the hashtag @HomeInNature. Thanks for watching Summit Metro Parks. We're your backyard.